This past Friday, February the 3rd, we celebrated the Feast of St. Blaise. And it turns out to be the Feast of St. Blaise occurs every year on February the 3rd. And I was reading an article by the United States Catholic Conference. It was talking about the various traditions in the Catholic Church and how, unfortunately, many of our beautiful traditions, and the Feast of St. Blaise with the blessing of throats happens to be one of those great traditions, how these traditions are just kind of collapsing and falling apart and being laid to the side of the road. And I thought to myself, that is clearly unfortunate. So how can we curb that from occurring and stop that and make sure that the Feast of St. Blaise is not only something we celebrate, and the blessing of throats is something that hopefully everyone can have occur in their life. I said to myself, it doesn't start with waiting for someone out there to say what we should do, but maybe someone from in here. So we were blessing throats before Mass. If you didn't have the opportunity, because I had to kind of shut the line off so I could get ready for Mass, immediately after Mass is over this evening, I'll move right back into blessing of the throat. So hopefully you have the luxury of time, a little bit of time, to stay and have your throat blessed. But before we continue, I'd just like to share with you this beautiful little video I found on the Feast of St. Blaise. It gives us a little idea who this man was and why we bless throats in the first place. Now let's watch.
St. Blaise lived in Sebaste, a city in Armenia, and when he was younger he studied philosophy and medicine. The science of the saints and his desire to love God more greatly took more of his attention, though. St. Blaise was very charitable towards the poor, and he would always visit them to relieve them of their sicknesses. When the Bishop of Sebaste died, his fellow citizens elected him as their pastor because of his miraculous healings. St. Blaise eagerly accepted office, not wanting to resist the will of God. After taking his position, God asked him to reside to a cave on Mount Argaeus. St. Blaise accepted the Lord's offer to do so, and he went to the cave. This pleased the Lord, so St. Blaise was blessed with the ability to perform miracles. His ability brought crowds of people to him, asking him to cure them of their bodily diseases and spiritual ailments. It is even said that ferocious animals came to him to be relieved. Around year 315, Agricolas, governor of Cappadocia and Lesser Armenia, was sent by Emperor Licinius to Sebaste. He had been sent to put all Christians in that area to death. When he arrived, he ordered that all Christians who were already imprisoned for their faith were to be fed to wild beasts. He then sent huntsmen out into the forest to find and catch ferocious animals. When the huntsmen arrived at Mount Argaeus, they found a group of beasts surrounding St. Blaise's cave. In the center of them was St. Blaise praying aloud. The huntsmen arrested the saint and were told to take him to Sebaste. Once captured, news of St. Blaise's arrest spread among the citizens. The streets were filled with people crying, asking for the saint's blessing. One woman in particular presented the saint with her son. He was dying because of a fishbone that had been caught in his throat. St. Blaise prayed to God that the son of this woman would be healed along with any other person suffering from the same problem. This is why St. Blaise is the patron saint of troubles of the throat. When the saint was brought to Agricolas, the governor asked him to sacrifice to his idols. St. Blaise refused to do so, and he was scourged very cruelly and then sent to jail. While in prison, he was stretched on the rack, his flesh was torn with iron combs, and a red-hot coat of mail was placed upon him. He was finally cast into the lake, and when by the will of God he did not drown, St. Blaise was beheaded. St. Blaise's life and actions are related to being a servant or disciple of the Church because he opened his heart to the will of God. St. Blaise was interested in many different areas of study when he was young, but above all he was most interested in God and the saints. He performed miracles at the will of God and was very charitable to the poor. And when God asked him to preside to a cave, he did so, healing all who came to him, even wild beasts. When the saint was found in the mountains, he said to the hunters who arrested him, "Let us go to shed our blood for Jesus Christ." He also proclaimed how he had long awaited for the honor of martyrdom, and that on the night before he was found, the Lord had shown to him that he would grant him the honor of sacrificing his life. St. Blaise stayed completely faithful throughout his life, always putting his love for others before himself. When the saint was taken to Governor Agricolas, he was asked to sacrifice to the idols that the governor worshipped. When he was asked this, the saint replied, "What a title for your demons, who can only bring evil on their worshippers. There is only one immortal God, and him do I adore." After this statement, he experienced such a cruel and prolonged scourging that it was thought to be unbearable, and that he could not possibly survive. But the saint did not let this break him or his courage. He remained in love with our God. Nothing could break his bond with the Lord. Also, because St. Blaise is the patron saint against troubles of the throat, at Mass on his feast day, the priest will bless 2 candles over your throat in honor of the saint. St. Blaise has inspired me to become more like a servant or disciple of the Church because he always was charitable to others. By being charitable and kind to all, he received a blessing from God, and because of his blessing from God and how he used it, he was later recognized as a saint by the Holy Catholic Church. I wish to become like St. Blaise by learning to put others before myself. The saint always offered his blessing to others, for example, when he removed the fishbone from the throat of a young boy. He performed this miracle while on his way to prison, putting a boy he barely knew before himself and the situation he was in. I wish to find this sort of selflessness within myself, and I hope to someday be recognized by God in the same way that St. Blaise was.
Again, right after the end of Mass, without delay, I'll not be going to the back of the narthex to shake hands and say good evening to everyone. I'll just get my candles and begin the process of blessing, again, your throat. So if you haven't had your throat blessed, hopefully you'll stay and take advantage of that beautiful tradition of the Church and have your throat blessed.